Since 1983, FAME has helped business and education work for Maine. Contact the authority, the Finance Authority of Maine. You're watching Maine Biz Sunday, Maine's business news source.
It's Rapid Fire Sunday, where we bring together a panel of well-known business and policy experts to discuss the hot topics in Maine's business community. With us today, we have Nicole Witherbee, former federal policy analyst with the Maine Center on Economic Policy, and now principal of Policy Edge Consulting in Portland. Rosa Scarcelli, CEO of Stanford Management and a former Democratic candidate for governor, and Matt Jacobson, CEO of Maine Co, also a former candidate for governor in the Republican primary. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Glad you could come. We called this Rapid Fire Sunday, so we're going to jump right in. We're going to try to cover as many topics as we can, get you all to weigh in on them, and just let the discussion go where it wants to go. Great. Topic number one, doubling down on Maine's economy. That's what I call this one. Are casinos a good bet? The town of Oxford and its neighbors are looking toward a new approach for economic development, one that involves making money without making things. Black Bear Entertainment has proposed building a four-season resort casino there. The group's gathered enough signatures to put the project on the statewide vote in November. A study commissioned by Black Bear Entertainment says the proposed casino will create 800 jobs, direct full-time jobs, and 500 support jobs with an average pay of $17.50 an hour. So, Nicole, I'm going to start with you. Is that real economic development, and is that a good bet?
In general, casinos are not good economic policy.
Wait a minute, 800 jobs.
Well, sometimes they create jobs, and then it's a matter of what jobs, and wages are not just the only issue. And so if you're looking at short-term, potentially that is a good bet. If you're looking long-term, then you have to consider other things, like whether or not it's going to be a tourist destination. So if you have places like Las Vegas, for instance, where you have people who are coming specifically for that, and they wouldn't otherwise be coming and bringing their money, it's a good bet because they're going to spend their money and they're going to stay in the hotels, they're going to eat in the restaurants. If, however, you're not able to bring tourists to the area and you're relying on a more local constituency, then you have more of a problem. Okay. And people may be spending money at the casinos rather than in other places like mom and pop shops and other businesses in town.
Okay. Okay. How about you guys?
I would agree. I think it's the quick hit. You know, it's and I understand why people want them today. I mean, we're all suffering. Everyone is looking for opportunity, and there hasn't been anything in the way of economic development that people can really get their hands around and feel like we've been moving in the right direction. Right. So this is understandable, but 50 to 60% of the people using this potential casino in Oxford County will be Mainers. It won't be creating a new flow of income, so it will be a shift. And we really need to be looking at who we are as a state and defining ourselves and really reclaiming our quality of life, and I think this will distract from that, and I think it's not the way we want to go and not the kind of resources we want to put.
But somebody's going to get it. The rest of New England, all of New England's competing for these casinos?
Well, they certainly are, but you'll see. I mean, everyone's talking about it right now because everyone's desperate. Okay. So when can we give people some real opportunity?
And if I could just, I mean, I know Matt hasn't had a chance to drop in, but I just want to add to that, you know, once people begin to bid on these and there are more and more casinos, you also see much less profit at each one of them and fewer jobs because, you know, there's only so much money that could be spent on casinos in the area. And so once you start saturating that market, if you will, then you start letting people go and you lose those jobs.
I guess I'd make one other point.
Yep.
I don't find a lot to
somehow I knew that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to disagree. I think the nuance is right. But if a business wants to open in Maine, and they aren't coming for a handout, and they want to open in Maine, why would we discourage a business from opening? It's not unlawful. We have gambling.
Because they own Hollywood Slots in Bangor.
Well, but we have gambling already. In fact, we encourage it at the state level with the lottery. So it's not kind of should we have gambling or not. The question to me is should we allow a business to take a risk in Maine?
But why not? Does this create the right image for Maine?
I don't worry so much about image. I worry more about can they be successful.
Okay. I'm going to move on to the next one. Good. This one I'm calling Billion with a B. I never thought we'd actually be saying that in Maine. Billion with a B. The state budget deficit predicted to balloon to $1 billion. We learned in July that the state could be facing a deficit that tops $1 billion over the next 2 fiscal years. What hard decisions need to be made? Is it possible to invest in Maine's future while also cutting to manage that record $1 billion looming deficit? Matt, I'm going to toss that to you.
Yeah, I think the short answer is yes.
And you can invest and cut?
I think you can. Okay. And I think it's not just cut. And that's the problem I have with the way we have the dialogue now. Is that even the Department of Defense yesterday or last week announced $100 billion reduction in overhead. They're reorganizing. Good businesses, good governments do that. They reorganize around specific ideas and to fit the mode. So we're going to spend $4.5 billion, taking $1 billion off. That's a lot of money to spend, so I still think we have to reorder our priorities, reorganize the way we do government. But this, I think, will be the defining issue for the next governor and for the next legislature. It's $1 billion, and there are some structural reasons why. The biggest thing that eats us right now is the unfunded liabilities for retirements and pensions. That's the issue we're going to have to deal with, and
we're going to talk more about that, Rosa.
The question really is about priorities. And Matt and I both talked a lot about this $1 billion shortfall basically from January on. So I don't think either of us are surprised that we're finally seeing a confirmation. The issue is absolutely about good government. What is government's role, and how are we going to make sure that we're using our limited resources in a way that's effective? And really, there's been a break in faith. People don't feel confident that government is doing what it's supposed to do. So this is an opportunity to do things differently.
I've got to ask the economist. I mean, can you do both? Can you do both?
Well, of course, reorganization is never a bad thing, but there's a couple of different questions here. And to start with, I think that the $1 billion number is dependent on borrowing to pay the unfunded liability, which is not happening. So we're not looking at a $1 billion deficit. We're looking at a much smaller deficit than that.
Well, actually, that's not the case, because the $200 million is already, I mean, it's already in the budget.
We do have a deficit.
Yeah, it's already in the budget, so there's already that amount of money. The unfunded liability portion, which I'm sure we're going to talk more about, the unfunded liability is it's because we're fluctuating and the economy's fluctuating and the number's bigger. I mean, it's
that line item will be more.
That line item will be more.
That line item will eventually be more, but we're still not talking about $1 billion unless you move forward with borrowing on the unfunded liability.
The $1 billion is only one little piece. You said that, and we all gave a nod. Actually, the $1 billion has to do with several other things: Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement rates, the slow growth or no growth. I mean, there's a lot of things
as we're implementing new things. I mean,
that's right.
And we will need to actually grow more in terms of Medicaid, because we're going to have to increase our eligibility numbers and encompass more people. And while there's some of that offset,
this is the dirty little secret that nobody's really talking about. But the health care bill that we passed in the federal health care bill actually freezes Maine Care eligibility and coverages until 2014.
Right.
So that makes this problem ever the more difficult,
It's an
because
imminent
42% of our budget is essentially DHHS.
But
so you have to take that $1 billion out of the other part of
But
government.
to your question, how do we invest?
Especially in like education, research and development. Those for me are the economic drivers. I have businesses here every week and they say, we need a more trained workforce. We need research and development money. Can we do that?
Well, we need to be looking at, I believe that we need to look at bonding for R&D. We are so abysmal in Maine in terms of R&D. We are a quarter of the U.S. national average in R&D spending. We have got to get up to at least the national average. We're a fifth of New England on R&D. I think we need to be. I think we need to look at, because we have to grow. This isn't going to be about cutting. We've got to grow. You have to.
I'm going to wrap this segment. We're coming right back. So we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about wind energy. Is it a real kind of big solution? Are the 15,000 jobs there? Those kinds of things. Unfunded liability. We're going to talk about the Portland Fish Exchange in Portland, and can that be saved? Should it be saved? So stick around. We've got a lot more to talk about. Stay there.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with our panel for the next round of Rapid Fire Sunday.
Maine Biz Sunday is brought to you by Bangor Savings Bank, where you can enjoy free ATMs worldwide.